Afternoon to you and welcome to News 360 here from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Fort.
And my name is Alfred Okonse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight.
Brought to you by...
President Akufo-Addo says the success of his administration will largely depend on government's ability to deal with unemployment.
Government announces an 11% salary increase for public sector workers from 2018.
Also in the bulletin, lawyer of star witness in the trial of former youth employment program Philip Asibet tells court that his client has been receiving death threats.
And on international front, the president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, has declared a state of emergency in 4 states in the northwest of the country.
Got the details of these stories for you, plus the very latest from the world of business, sports, as well as entertainment in the next hour here on News 360. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on News 360. Remember, we're streaming live on 3news.com as well as TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And here's where we start off this evening. President Akufo-Addo says the success of his administration will largely depend on government's ability to deal with the issue of unemployment. Speaking at a media engagement on the first 6 months of his stewardship, the president was happy about the measures initiated to revive the economy.
The media encounter with the president gave him the opportunity to take stock of the first 6 months of his administration and also offer himself for media scrutiny. President Akufo-Addo was confident government is on the right track with policies to improve living conditions of the people.
That the success or otherwise of my administration will be judged largely on job creation. I launched the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Plan, which is an innovative scheme under the Business Development Ministry to help startups at the difficult early stages of setting up businesses.
On Galamsey, the president reiterated his resolve to end the menace.
This phenomenon threatens the future of our nation. I believe that the time has come to do something about it. And within the confines of the law, what is acceptable behavior by governments, I intend to mobilize all the resources that government has at its disposal to bring this phenomenon to an end.
The media engagement, according to organizers, is the first of 2 within the year.
Well, let's just a bit further with this. During that encounter with the media, the president, Nana Addo, indicated he was not worried at some Galamseyers saying they will not vote for him in the 2020 general elections, but will the president run for a second term in 2020 as the flag bearer of the NPP?
For a politician to put his career on the line for an issue means that that issue for him is very important. We all are witnesses to rivers drying up, our landscape being defaced and devastated, our forests being attacked. Riverbeds in our country are being mined extensively for minerals. All of these are things that are obvious to all of us. I intend to mobilize all the resources that government has at its disposal to bring this phenomenon to an end. I'm very, very clear about that, and I'm not going back on this commitment. I've been told the young men were saying they voted for me. And if I continue down this way, they can be sure that they will not vote for me again in 2020. Well, the 2020 vote is not clear that Akufo-Addo's name will be on the ballot in the first place. And even if his name is on the ballot, this is not going to be the reason why I will stop. We're going to continue.
You know that the government is a continuum. You know, a president in power has 3 major objectives. Your re-election. If you are not going to contest the election of your party, that's the second one. And of course, your place in history. These are very important things that any serious president will consider. So he's very conscious of these. And I think that he wanted just to give indication as to whether he will be there or not. But he's also conscious of the fact that whoever succeeds him, if he decides not to go, will have to defend the record of his party before perhaps he himself will project his own ideals and ideologies for the state.
We'll see what happens in 2020. But in agriculture, President Akufo-Addo has stated over 72,000 litres of insecticide have been given out to fight the armyworm invasion. He made this known at the 6 months of results press encounter earlier today.
The president announced that the armyworm infestation affected over 102,802 hectares of land, destroying over 14,000 hectares of farms in the process.
Over the years, several diseases such as the swollen shoot, black pod, and mealy bugs have attacked our agriculture. The latest in the series is the fall armyworm invasion, which is ravaging farmlands across Africa. In dealing with this menace, the government has mobilized support for farmers by supplying them with 72,774 litres of insecticide. More are in the pipeline.
The agricultural sector's contribution to the country's GDP is about 25%. The sector has, however, been confronted with challenges such as the lack of ready markets for crops and subsequent post-harvest losses. To help boost the industry, President Akufo-Addo reiterated interventions his government has undertaken to support farmers so far.
The government is bearing 50% of the cost of fertilizers for farmers, and to date, 80,037 tons of fertilizer have been distributed to farmers enrolled on the program. 35,746 metric tons of seedlings have also been supplied to farmers.
Well, President Akufo-Addo's statement at the media briefing since he assumed the office was silent on health. The president briefed the journalists on issues like the economy, agriculture, and security.
Government plans on the failures and the delivery challenges of Ghana's health systems were left in the dark when the president met journalists. Issues like government debt to the National Health Insurance Service providers, the shortage in polio and measles vaccines, inadequate space in some government hospitals, among others, were neither mentioned by the president nor raised by journalists who had the opportunity to ask questions. The only health-related question was on the state of the ambulance service, which he stated he met in a bad condition.
The ambulances and the state of our emergency health care, I think it tells you about the nature of my inheritance. To see how very bad the cupboard was and how very run down the public services in our country are. We're having to deal with all of this thing, improving revenue generation so that we can be more self-sufficient.
On education, the president indicated the sector minister is setting the roadmap to implement the free SHS policy, debunking assertions government is shifting its focus.
The president, who hadn't touched on the free SHS, insisted it remained a priority.
The reason why there's no mention about it is not because it has been abandoned. On the contrary, it is very high priority. The program for introducing the free secondary high school policy has been spelt out in a series of public engagements by the Minister for Education. They've set up a secretariat, they've set up an implementation committee, and he himself has engaged the media and public opinion several times. He's about to do so in the course of the next week, 10 days again, to set out exactly what the roadmap is.
He reiterated the essence of the policy.
The policy will avail those who are accepted in the senior high schools. The policy that is being devised by the Ministry of Education is that The so-called elite schools in Ghana are going to be required to reserve 30% of places in them to those schools that come from, if you like, more disadvantaged backgrounds and locations. So the effort to try and create some kind of a balance in what is being proposed is one that is engaging all of our attention.
So, some labor unions have lauded the president's decision not to extend the International Monetary Fund, the IMF agreement, from next year or beyond 2018, that particular period when the program ends. They are of the view government should consider an economic forum to discuss ways of financing its projects when the IMF agreement is concluded.
Before the president's decision not to extend the IMF agreement, the TUC had already pleaded with government not to go for an extension. At the just-ended news conference organized by the president, he indicated that government will not extend the IMF agreement. His comment has attracted appreciation and relief from some labor unions calling the action as a bold decision. According to Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, and the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, GOSPA, the IMF agreement has already affected the growth of the economy.
Whenever any country is under an IMF program, the people who are worse off are always the workers, because there's always a limitation on what workers can negotiate for. So if by God's grace the president has confirmed that by next year we would have done away with the IMF program, it will give us more leverage to do something better for our working people.
A lot of the bottlenecks and the issues IMF are bringing on board as one of the things that have to be met is affecting the labor force, and it will not actually encourage productivity. So I think that in that tune, I agree with the president.
On government borrowing, NAT and TEU are of the view government should not focus on borrowing but consider mobilizing resources in the country.
Government's responsibility is to make sure that the state runs, and the state can run on resources. So whether they will term it as borrowing or not, that's not my problem. The issue is that we have a certain limit that we have borrowed. What I'm looking up to is the fact that we don't exceed it. Then I'll believe what government is saying.
New borrowing capital begin to flow into the country and into the economy in the various sectors. The agriculture is key thing. They are saying planting for food and jobs is key thing. Apart from the teachers, there are a lot of administrators, accountants who are needed, procurement officers, supply officers within the GES, within the public universities, within the polytechnics, now technical universities.
However, both unions commended the president for asking for enough time to investigate corrupt officials of the past government.
Even though we know people steal, we don't have enough evidence to convict them. So I think that the onus is on all of us to protect the state with evidence. If we know that something untoward has happened, why do we keep it away from the state if we want to cure the canker of corruption in our country?
The issue about corruption, you need to get facts about the person, and the facts have to be contested in court. So once the legal framework has been set in place and the person has been accused, then we know that, yes, we are following the democratic and the constitutional principles of this country.
And soon after the president's encounter with the media, some ministers of state expressed satisfaction at the level of engagement. The ministers expatiated on issues regarding Ghana's debt, energy generation, and the one district, one factory policy.
If I have a debt stock of 10 with different repayment periods and with different interest rates, I take 4 and replace it with long-term instruments. I have not changed the debt stock. I've just changed the debt profile. I think that is the problem many of you have. There's a big difference between the profile of debt and the debt stock. By replacing your short-term debt with long-term debt of the same amount, how do you change it? You don't change your debt stock. So the debt stock is not changed.
We've heard that Car Powership is sending its second ship or power ship very soon. When will that take effect?
Car Powership is replacing the original Car Powership. Remember that the one that came in is a 225 megawatt ship, that will be pulled out of service and replaced with a 450 megawatt ship. We just finalized the Guarantee B, which covers the second vessel. So the second vessel is being prepared to set sail from Turkey into Ghana. We expect it to be here in another 60 days.
Now, one district, one factory. Yeah. A lot has been said about this very policy. Where are the timelines?
If you want to establish a factory, obviously you need a promoter. And government made it clear that we want this to be private sector led but supported by government. And so we've received over 350 applications, and we've been able to screen these applications. We have about 285 that we have decided we can work with.
How soon are we to expect these employment?
There are some limited intervention within the public sector which is yielding fruit. For instance, the Planting for Food and Jobs alone has created about 200,000 jobs. Besides that, there are other interventions in the sanitation sector which is also coming on board, which are offering jobs. But I want to say that these are public sector jobs. We want the private sector to be the hub of employment creation in this country.
I was very satisfied because I believe that they were all the honest answers that he could give to the questions that were asked. And in all this, in my view, the honesty and sincerity is critical. You know, it's not a matter of, as they say, spinning or, you know, trying to lie. He went straight to the point, was very honest. This is the conviction, this is my vision, this is my idea of it, and so on. And I think that I was satisfied.
Now, one might certainly ask the question what the intention of President Akufo-Addo and his entire administration is in organizing an interaction with the media 6 months into the president's tenure in office. And he said that is to promote accountability, which he seeks to serve as a hallmark of his administration. And on the issue of accountability, he said, halfway into my first year in office, it is good to take stock of what has happened and the way forward. This forum is not intended to give another message on the state of the nation. Neither is it to announce my achievements. It is guided rather by the principle of accountability, which he wants to be the hallmark of his administration. And with accountability, the president spoke extensively about the declaration of assets. In addition to all the other topics he touched on, he said, quote, I declared my assets within 2 weeks of my inauguration, and so has the vice president. The ministers have declared their assets, and I am insisting that all those required to do so under the law should comply. So it's clear that President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo is very hard on the issue of accountability. And that's in line with the forum held today, Alfred.
Absolutely, Natalie. And that's one thing that we're going to stay on a bit further. I've been joined on Skype by Adam Serrano. He's a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Anti-Corruption Crusade. Mr. Serrano, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, one of the things, in fact, two of the issues the president talked about that bothers on corruption is how he dealt with the Bosts saga, which he says a 9-member committee is still in place, and then also the issues relating to the fact that he has a number of cases of corruption against previous administration's members, which he is investigating into. Your thoughts about his responses on the issue of corruption, sir?
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening to your viewers as well. First of all, we need to commend the president for taking this bold step of interacting with the media concerning his performance in the first 6 months. Admittedly, it's too early to have a very clear picture of how far they have come. However, once he had opened the door, it gives us an opportunity to begin to also make some input into what we think the situation is. I get the feeling that while the president has good intentions, he probably needs some additional advice on what kind of robust response he can give in regard to anti-corruption activities. We all know that the asset declaration regime that we currently have is really of no value, because you have a situation where individuals go give some figures in a sealed envelope which is never opened, and nobody actually validates what is there. And so one would be looking towards our president saying that beyond what exists, we are reviewing this law. We're going to make things public like we have in other countries such as Nigeria just next door, such that the asset declaration regime in Ghana begins to have value in terms of being able to track people who have gained wealth in a fraudulent way or engage in activities that we would not expect. Again, his response to bust was a bit tricky for me because in one sense, it seemed to me that the president didn't have all the facts. He mentioned how the regulator came back to say that portion of the industry is not regulated. But the facts available to us does not suggest that there's that lacuna which has to be addressed. Okay. Indeed, I was happy he said the committee is at work and will finish its findings and make it available. I think that the president probably in terms of corruption and his response to it needs to do much more in order for us to get the kind of results we want as a country.
So, Mr. in your view, you think that telling us that he has declared his assets, his vice has declared, his ministers have declared, is not enough? Because for now, we do not know what they have declared because it's sitting on the shelves of the Auditor General until there is a court directive to have them open it and for us to authenticate what has been declared. Really, I mean, what has to be done to make it public so that if they are declaring their assets, we all know what they had before they came into office?
Yes, it is clear that worldwide the current best practice is to make these asset declarations public because once you're seeking public office, it's in our interest to be able to be sure that nobody is engaging in activities they ought not to at the expense of the citizenry. I think that we need to go the way of Nigeria and other countries that have said these declarations should be public ones. A policy statement by our president to say that we're reviewing that law would make a lot of difference. As it is, it's of no value to many of us in the anti-corruption movement that our president says he's declared and he's ensuring that others do. It does not add any value to our ability to deal with the corruption issues that we want to deal with. And so, yes, a lot more must be done, starting with the president indicating that, look, we are going to review this and make it more useful for us as a nation. And that's where I come in and I say that I think that he probably needs some special advice in relation to how much more comprehensive his responses to anti-corruption can be.
Mr. Nana, I thank you very much, and I'm grateful for your time as always via Skype. This is a focus on the president's response on corruption.
News 360 Skype interview is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go.
All right, some breaking news just coming through. The 10th floor of the Job 600 building that serves as offices to the 275 members of parliament is on fire. As the information we're just getting is that this happened just some few minutes ago. So that is the breaking news that we're getting from Parliament, that the 10th floor of the Job 600 building that serves as office to the members of parliament is on fire as we speak. The fire service is there attending and indeed battling the fire to be able to keep it under control. As you might be aware, there is a fire station in parliament to ensure that all these things are dealt with as we speak at the moment. So from what we gather from the ground, the situation is being controlled. But Komla Kloche is my colleague. He is on the ground there, parliament now. He's going to be joining us via Skype right in just a few minutes to tell us exactly what the situation is as we speak at the moment in Parliament. We told that the 10th floor of the Job 600 building, which serves as offices to members of Parliament, is on fire. This is just the breaking news coming through right now. We are going to be staying with this a lot more to give you a lot more updates on it. If you recall, this particular building was renovated and given to members of parliament to serve as offices for them. State-of-the-art equipment were put in there to ensure that members are able to discharge their duties effectively. And this was indeed lauded by members of parliament who hitherto were using their car boots and some other obscure places as their offices. So it's just a worrying development from the information that we're getting, and we're going to be joining Komla Kuchi soon via Skype to give us an extent of damage this a fire outbreak is caused as we speak at the moment. Komla is back online. See if we can be able to reconnect very clearly with him. It is because of the extent of the fire that we are making efforts to get through to him on Skype, and you should bear with us because of the hitches in there, because of what's happening as we speak at the moment. It is some breaking news just coming through. The 10th floor of the Job 600 building is on fire. Komla Kluche, Komla, if you can hear me now, I know you're at the fire scene. What exactly is happening where you are?
Okay, so what is happening is that, Alfred, I'm finding it a bit difficult to actually get pictures of the place though, but what is happening is that I understand about an hour ago, members of parliament detected smoke from the 10th floor of the Job 600. What triggered or caused the fire is unknown to them as we speak now. Alfred, the whole building has been put. The connection to electricity, the whole building has been put off the national grid, and we don't actually know what has actually happened. But what I can say is that, or from what I have just gathered simply from them, is that they have been able to bring every other member of parliament on or within their offices, and the Job 600 have come down. I've seen the majority leader, also chairman, so they are all down. They are yet to speak to the media, but as it stands now, the fire service is still trying to put up the fire. We can't even see the billowing smoke or traces of the fire, but I understand it is on the floor. There's tents to which it is burning. We can't tell. Very sketchy details, but the whole place is dark, so it's quite difficult to get exactly much pictures of it. What is happening is that firemen are coming onto the scene. I have seen about 3 fire tenders already who have come onto the scene. Okay, so the majority leader is just addressing the media now. We can just speak somewhere.
Well, before you do, how to have you just turn your phone so we get the exact that's a horizontal reflection of it, because it's vertical now. If you could just turn it around so we just get it right. Thank you. Komala is going to do that very shortly, and we'll get through to the majority leader, the Honorable Sechi Mensah-Bonsu, who is a minister in charge of parliamentary affairs and also a member of parliament for the Siame constituency. So that is the breaking news we're getting from Parliament. The Job 600 building has been gutted by fire, specifically the 10th building. We're going to be giving you some information on that. Stay with us here on TV3. All right, welcome back. So we're going straight now to Parliament, where Komla Kluche is going to get closer to the Minister in charge of Parliamentary Affairs, also who is the Majority Leader, the Honorable Sechi Mensah-Bonsu. He is also the Member of Parliament for the Siame constituency. Evelyn Temma is also a parliamentary correspondent. She is on the telephone now, who's also on the other wing of Parliament. And Evelyn, thank you for joining us. Now, what exactly is the fire service doing now? Because we know that they have complained they are not able to fight fire beyond the 6th floor. This, we're told, is happening on the 10th floor. Can you confirm this to us and tell us a bit more about what's happening where you are?
currently...
Hello, Evelyn.
Addressing the media, and we understand the fire has been put out already. The fire started around 5:30 p.m. and then the fire has been put out. But the majority leader is just addressing the media, and he was saying that it happened on the 10th floor and spread to the 12th floor, and currently he's addressing the media. So I would just want to have a full interview with the majority leader as the man is talking. So after that, we will come back to you after. But the fire has been put out.
That's some good news. Please, if you could get closer to the majority leader, as you're saying, if we can get a word from him as to exactly what happened, if there were any members of parliament in the offices when this fire occurred, so we get some more details, if you can.
Yes, and also when he's addressing the whole media, all the media men he's addressing, so it will be difficult for me to give my phone to him to talk to us. He's currently addressing all the media houses here. So I hope that when he's done shortly, I can have a one-on-one interview with him for our listeners to have benefit of that.
Great, Evelyn. But what's the situation with respect to members of parliament? Do you see a lot of them there? Have you been able to glean information about whether any of them was in the office when this fire occurred?
Yes, and I've seen a couple of MPs here, and the first deputy speaker is also here. I understand it occurred on his floor, and he has to rush down, and according to the majority leader, fortunately for them, the lifts were working, so they hurriedly used the lift.
Right.
The first deputy speaker is over here, and he was in the office when it happened too. And we're also trying to get him.
Evelyn, I'm going to come back to you. Evelyn, I'm going to come back to you, please. Let's not go back to Skype now, where the Honorable Seche Mensah-Bonsu is addressing the media, as you can see on your screens right now.
There is a particular function holding that main gate is closed. Between 5 and 6.
Then it means in case of emergency, you all have to use one gate.
There is this back gate, right? There's not just one gate leading to this place. There are 3 main gates. If you like, if you even have to access the Council of State ends, you may even have 4 entrances to this place. Now, the back gate, which has not been put into proper use now, is what is supposed to be used for such purposes. But because we're not even the fire tenders, we're not too sure of the fact that this gate had been opened. They all use the main entrance and they run into this one. As I said, one had that. The rest of them were then told.
Okay, so that's what's happening, as you see, via Skype. The Honorable Seche Mensah-Bonsu speaking to the press, the premises of Parliament, where Job 600, especially the 10th floor, has been gutted by fire. We're told the fire service is being able to douse the fire, keep it under control. That's the good news we're getting. Evelyn, you're still with me there. Now, are you closer to the Honorable Seche Mensah-Bonsu? If you are, can we hear what he's saying to the press?
Yes, outside we're still addressing the media, and we know that the Parliament has the fire service station here, and so what we're saying is that the fire service post there, working for them, were on time, and so everything went normal, and there's no cause for alarm. I'm trying to listen to him and then tell me what he's saying, but
okay. Thank you. That's Evelyn Tengma. She's a parliamentary correspondent. Komla Kluche as well as my colleague here at TV3. He is also on the other side of this fire scene where it's happening. A Job 600 building, the 10th floor, has been gutted by fire from the information we're getting. But the good news is that the fire service has been able to put the fire under control. We're staying with that. We'll be updating you in the course of today here on TV3.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the very latest in the world of business. My name is Pa Kwesiasa. We will begin with happenings in the Flagstaff House when the president met with the press early on today. And President Nana Addo says Ghana will no longer extend the International Monetary Fund program when it officially ends in April 2018. He said Ghana must mobilize its own resources and go beyond aid. The president was reacting to questions of the first encounter with media men after 6 months in office.
The shock to the state of affairs, yes. And when is the IMF program comes? The IMF program is not going to be extended. We took the decision on coming in that the country had entered into this program in 2015. It was coming to an end in April 2018. And we felt that to give a certain sense of stability and coherence to our country's economic policy making, that we would complete the program. The last budget that is going to be held under the IMF program will be the budget that is going to be laid before the House in November by the finance minister. So there's going to be no question of an extending the program.
Meanwhile, government has announced the increase of salaries of public sector workers to 11%. Workers will benefit from the increment in January 2018.
The negotiations between government and organized labor lasted for 2 days. Initially, labor tabled a 30% increment, but government negotiated for 10%. Labor said the amount was woefully inadequate until further negotiations reduced the position of labor to 12.5%. However, government again pleaded with labor to accept 11%, which was agreed upon. Payment of 11% is expected to commence in January 2018 with pay point relativities of 1.7%. In 2016, both government and labor agreed on a 10% increment, while in 2017, both parties agreed on 12.5%.
Well, that's it for the very latest in the world of business. For more news, you can log on to our website, 3news.com. My name is Asiedu-Dartey, handing over to you, Alfredo Kante.
Thank you so much for the business news, Asiedu-Dartey. And as away from that, star witness in the case involving the state and former national coordinator of the Youth Employment Program, Abuga Pele and Philip Asibit, say he has been receiving death threats. Lawyer leading in evidence in chief for the CEO of Goodwill International Group, Philip Asibit, who was being charged for not rendering any service to the National Youth Employment Program, prayed the court for an order to identify such individuals.
Former Deputy Coordinator of the then National Youth Employment Program, Jacob Adongo, appeared in court to give his evidence-in-chief on behalf of CEO of Goodwill International Group, Philip Asibit, to establish whether the company rendered any service to the National Youth Employment Program. Before the lawyer started questioning the witness, he told the court his client has reported to him some 2 individuals have sent him death threat messages. The lawyer tendered in the messages as evidence, praying the court to order the telcos whose numbers have been used to send messages to identify such individuals. Presiding Judge Justice Ifia Sewa asked Jacob Adongo if he had reported the issue to the police. He replied he tried on his way to court but was told to go back to the police station closer to his residence, but due to his appearance in court, he was yet to do so. The witness in his evidence-in-chief told the court he has in his possession documents from the World Bank, both in bills and print, which was drafted after the World Bank had approved the loan facility, which he tendered in as evidence. He said after funding was secured, the World Bank put all the information into a codified document called Project Appraisal Document, which summarizes the loan agreement, what the funds should be used for, and also made mention of $5 million from Danida, which totaled $65 million. The witness continues with his evidence-in-chief on July 18.
Still live here on News 360. Return with news from the world of sport shortly. Stay with us.
Of sports. My name is Thierry Nyan. Let's get started. Now we start off with CAF, and the African Cup of Nations could be moved to June or July as part of changes being discussed by the continent's ruling body. Now the Nations Cup's timing is in January and February. That has long angered clubs in Europe where many Africans play. A move to a tournament in June and July is also set to be discussed in the Moroccan capital Rabat, as is the less likely possibility of staging the final every 4 rather than 2 years. CAF President Ahmad later said, during a conference or symposium today, that they are there for a historic chapter and to effect great changes. These are the changes that will determine the future of our game. At the gathering will be FA President, Secretary Generals and coaches of each African nation. A host of former stars have also been invited to give their views. Now, there have been numerous discussions about the timing of the African Cup of Nations and the bearing it has on African players. The discussion has grown over the past few years, with ex-players, managers and pundits getting involved. The Confederation of African Football will be discussing the future of the tournament in Rabat, Morocco this week. And ex-Ghana international Samuel Osei-Kuffour, who isn't present there, says the 4-year proposal is a right proposal for the future of African football.
In my opinion, I think they should change it. I'm not just saying because of the players. I'm saying because of the circumstances that goes around. If we do it 2 years, how best can we organize? Instead of doing the 4 years, then you can have a better preparation. Organize with the very good facilities. We can witness what happened in Gabon 2015. The pitch was, in my view, was catastrophic. The players, they can play the better football that they wanted to play. And so they find it very difficult because of the situation in terms of the food, in terms of the organization, everything. If they do 4 years, some players may not have the opportunity to play African Cup of Nations. That will be considered to play in 2 years. But if you want a better organization, I think 4 years will be better, in my opinion.
All right, so now away from that, we remain in local football. Expectations for the next stage of the MTN FA Cup heightened after the quarter-final draw was completed on Wednesday. There are 5 Premier League teams at this stage, signifying how good the top sides are in this competition. 10-time winners Accra Hearts of Oak will welcome Division 1 side Dunbot FC to the Accra Sports Stadium in a quest to pick up a trophy they have missed out on winning in a long while. Asante Kotoko also have an engagement at the Baba Yara Stadium with Minus and EA Salamina. The only all-Premier League clash at the stage features Wild Stars being the champions of the Ghana Premier League and Brekum Chelsea, who will battle it out at the Malik Jaber Stadium. Now, the quarter-final games will be played on the 29th and 30th of July 2017. All right, so let's go do some transfers now. And Joe Hart has joined West Ham United from Manchester City on a season-long loan deal after completing a medical at the London club. The England #1 spent last season on loan at Torino after losing his starting place at Manchester City. And Pep Guardiola has signed the Benfica goalkeeper Ederson for £34.7 million for the upcoming campaign. The deal will cost West Ham United £4.5 million in total, with the goalkeeper set to earn a mammoth £2.5 million in salary from the London club. All right, so that's exactly where we bring an end to the sports bulletin right here on News 360. My name is Thierry, and we'll bring you some more sports news later tomorrow. Myself and Yao Fusulabi will be here, so keep watching TV3 and enjoy the rest of your night.
Welcome back to News 360. Time now for some entertainment news. Physically challenged musician Pazzo Joe has urged movie makers to stop imitating people with disability in their films. The 25-year-old rapper told Owusu Warai he feels extremely shattered seeing such mockery-intended scenes and wants filmmakers to stop the practice.
When I see them, it makes me sad. Yeah, it makes me sad.
The Kaneshi-based physically challenged musician Pazzo Joe is not all happy with movie makers. He feels dejected seeing movie scenes mock and mimic people with disability. The up-and-coming musician noted the torture the disabled are exposed to by this, despite the humor it adds to the scenes. The rapper expects movie makers to be professional with their work and spare them the torture.
To me, I see it as mocking. That's their work that they do, but I'm pleading on behalf of my friends who are disabled that they should limit it for us.
After years of seeing such scenes repeated in movies, the Ayele composer is convinced they are intended to make mockery of the physically challenged, a trend he finds unhealthy. Pazzo Joe wants Ghanaians to join his crusade to check the practice.
We were in the same room watching the movie and I saw them when doing such things. It reminds me why I became like this. What I would tell them is they should know what we are feeling. They should tell their directors and producers to check out those things and to limit such behavior. And I think that will help.
Renamed Shadrach Kojo Menimbre, Pazzo Joe released his fourth single, Ayele, in January 2017.
Hey mama, come closer. Into don't envy, ebi anawo, ebe ye baby. Into act crazy, hey baby, so act crazy. We go dance till eternity.
He is currently saving to shoot a video for the love song.
How has it been for you? Has it been very difficult raising the money to do it? It's very difficult because nowadays when you want to shoot a video, I think you have to shoot a clear and portable video for your fans to, watch it. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for someone who can help me to bring the video out.
Before we end this interview, let's drop the mic to Pazzo Joe and see him do what he does best.
Nana Addo, me guide. Me spend too much on the hater. What drop a sound, we release the volume, me punch beat or your murder. Trigger, click a gunshot. Or punch if it one full stop. I'm killing the beat, you are feeling the heat. Me wrap your shot to the core pot. Can you believe him? Oh yeah, Pazzo.
Right. I love that. Warai. Fantastic one. Let's go for some international news.
The president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, has declared a state of emergency in 4 states in the northwest of the country. The statement on state television did not give any reason for the decree. The state of emergency is expected to last for 3 months. The last state of emergency was in 2014 in Unity State in the north and Jonglei in the east as rebels fought government forces. Tanzania's communication regulator has fined 6 telecommunication companies for giving out SIM cards without demanding users register their details. Among them is Vodacom, which was fined 945 million Tanzanian shillings or £324,000 sterling. Airtel, Smart, Tigo, Zantel and Halotel were also fined. The Tanzanian Regulations Communications Authority said in a press release that the phone companies had given out SIM cards without necessary documents like their ID and without taking photos of the subscribers. In 2015, the Nigerian authorities fined the South African mobile phone company MTN $5.2 billion after it failed to disconnect all non-registered SIM cards.
Well, that's it for News 360. Stay with us here. Remember, in a subsequent bulletin, to bring you some more updates of that breaking news of the fire outbreak at the Job 600 building in Parliament. Colleagues Kamna Kluchi and Evelyn Temba will be coming through with some more details. My name is Alfred Kansi.
And I'm Nasidi Forza. Meanwhile, you can also check our website, 3news.com, for more on that issue. Remember, News at 10 will simulcast on 3FM 92.7. Next is Tashan. Enjoy the rest of your evening.